The Batman is better than The Dark Knight. Okay, so now that I probably pissed off a lot of people and got your attention, let's rewind the clock a little bit. Leading up to the release of The Batman, I've watched and reviewed every single modern live-action Batman movie, and then The Batman came out. Like most of you expected, I always planned on doing a review video for The Batman, but I wanted to wait it out. That way I can watch it again on HBO Max and write some notes down so I can actually be able to give it the review that it deserves. However, now that we're finally here and I finally rewatched The Batman, I have to say it. The Batman is the best DC Comics and Batman movie to date. I say that as someone who absolutely adores DC Comics, as you all know, and has admittedly watched The Dark Knight way too many times. In the best way possible, The Batman leaves a lot to be desired. What I mean by that is that rather than feeling like Matt Reeves could have done more with this movie or cheated us out of a potentially phenomenal movie, The Batman has everything and more. Yeah, it leaves you wanting more from this universe for a good reason. You want to see what Penguin is going to do next in Gotham after the death of Carmine Falcone. You want to see who will step up to take on Batman as the next big bad that'll likely end up in Arkham alongside the Riddler and Joker. That's because Matt Reeves made it so easy to appreciate the Batman. There are emotional moments that actually land well. There are outstanding moments like the gigantic set piece that was Batman chasing Penguin in the Batmobile. The supporting cast of characters such as Commissioner Gordon, Catwoman, and Penguin, who arguably has the funniest line in the Batman.
World's greatest detectives! Am I the only one here knows the difference between Al and Law?
All shine when they're on screen and don't feel like they're not given their fair share of the spotlight. The score is absolutely phenomenal and continuously adds depth to the emotional, intense, curiosity building, or action-packed moments in The Batman. Side note, you can tell that they were incredibly proud of the Batman's theme song because the theme song was on repeat in this movie, and you know what? I loved every second of it. Most importantly though, The Batman has my favorite iteration of Gotham ever done in live action. This new iteration of Gotham is quite literally the best of Nolan's iteration of Gotham and the best of Burton's iteration of Gotham fused together to make this beautiful yet gritty, dark, chaotic city. And you want to know my favorite part about the Batman's Gotham? It's the fact that this new iteration of Gotham is ambiguously designed to be timeless. The architecture of Gotham heavily relies on this gothic theme to make Gotham feel old school. Meanwhile, the technology shown off by Bruce and the Riddler is far more advanced than you'd think. Then add in the typical chaos, corruption, or madness that you typically expect in Gotham on top of those other two elements to create the perfect atmosphere for a beautifully crafted Gotham. While all of those things are absolutely amazing, there is something else that I feel is the biggest strength of the Batman: the idea of making this movie a year 2 Batman movie. This movie respects your time and it understands that you understand Batman's origin story. Bruce Wayne loses his parents at a young age. This gives him a massive amount of trauma, which leads to him becoming Batman, and him becoming Batman spawns villains who want to fight against Batman because they like Gotham as a crime-ridden city. By going with this creative decision, it allowed Matt Reeves to tell a much grander story with multiple storylines that didn't overstep one another. In fact, they actually blend in a way that's kind of perfect. Think about it. The core of the Batman story is familiarizing us with a complex, fairly young Bruce Wayne who matures as the Batman, gains experience as a detective, and grows as a person. That happens because of the Riddler, who pushes Bruce to unintentionally become better, considering the Riddler is obsessed with Batman. Why is the Riddler obsessed with Batman? He knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and the Riddler hates Thomas Wayne due to Thomas's fatal mistake in the past, which led to not only his death, but the now well-known corruption in Gotham City. Which, this is a plot twist that's thrown at us towards the end of the movie, and is a nice nod towards making an already well-known origin story much more interesting. The Riddler becoming such a massive presence in Gotham with his riddles and chaotic plans forces Commissioner Gordon to work with Batman, who he doesn't know is Bruce Wayne. Why? It's because Jim Gordon knows deep down inside that a majority of the GCPD is corrupted and that he can't trust anyone in the GCPD. Selina Kyle comes into the mix early on after her friend goes missing, which leads to her trying to gain intel on Penguin. That leads to her eventually working with Batman, which as a result shines a light on Carmine Falcone, who is later revealed to be both a corrupted crime lord and Selina's father, who murdered both her mother and her best friend. The point is that all of these storylines are not only connected to one another, but they all end similarly, on a note that leaves you anticipating the near future for these characters and the potential rippling effect it'll have on Gotham. And since we're discussing potential rippling effects, can we appreciate this iteration of Bruce Wayne, who I personally feel is the most interesting live-action Batman already? One of my favorite aspects of Matt Reeves' take on Bruce Wayne is that for once, Bruce feels human. He's a flawed and complex protagonist that is more than the cliche things you expect out of a Bruce Wayne. There's a sense of depth there that goes beyond the, oh, he's just a billionaire playboy who has a sense of charm that he uses to get whatever he needs from the people of Gotham. He's complicated, he's serious, he's also kind of weird. However, I love that the Batman has such a focus on Bruce's inner struggles. For example, the various monologues we get from Bruce allow us to understand him and to get more vulnerable than we've ever seen Bruce Wayne be. It also allows us to be able to gauge where he's at by the end of the movie. Rather than us assuming that Bruce is suddenly a hero or suddenly the Batman we want him to be by the end of the movie, his last monologue allows us to realize that Bruce isn't this invincible superhero or genius detective. Bruce is human. He's not just his money, he's not just his detective skills, he's not just his Batsuit or Batmobile or Batwing. His struggles are a part of who he is just as much as all of the previously listed things, and they're going to play a role in him becoming the superhero we want him to become as well. Just like any other human being, Bruce is legitimately affected by the things that are going on in Gotham. He was affected by the Riddler's calculated chaos and Selina, who unintentionally pushed him to be better as he learned more about her own moral compass. As you watch the movie, you realize just how much Bruce matures throughout the events from minute 1 to the last minute of the movie. He grows, learns, and takes in different lessons from different people or different situations that have been put upon him both unintentionally and or intentionally. Rather than feeling like he's already the best at what he does, we get to see him slowly rising to the mantle that comes with being Batman. And all of this ties back into the creative decision of making the Batman a year 2 Batman movie, which allowed Matt Reeves to make a Batman movie that not only does things differently, but skips the things we already know. This conscious decision allows us to buy into the transformation that this movie is attempting to give us when it comes to Bruce's growth. We get to see this dark Bruce Wayne who finds thugs when the bat signal goes up, beats them up, and then says, "On vengeance," in the beginning of the movie. And by the end, this same Bruce Wayne matures into a much better protagonist, person, and more importantly, a hero. A hero who gives a beautifully said monologue after all of the lessons he's learned through his saga against the Riddler. I'm starting to see now, I have had an effect here, but not the one I intended. Vengeance won't change the past, mine or anyone else's. I have to become more. People need hope, to know someone's out there for them. This city is angry and scarred like me. Our scars can destroy us even after the physical wounds have healed. But if we can survive them, they can give us the power to endure and the strength to fight. Now, although I appreciate this movie's storytelling and do genuinely think the Batman story is amazing, there are 2 things that I wish this movie had that could have turned this amazing story into an outstanding story. For reference, these aren't inherently criticisms, so to speak. To be honest, these are just 2 things that I personally would have loved to see more of, but I totally understand that it would have bloated an already 3-hour-long movie. Firstly, I would have loved it if we got more screen time for Alfred and Bruce's relationship. Look, I've watched every live-action Batman movie, and I have to say it, Andy Serkis's iteration of Alfred Pennyworth might just be my second favorite adaptation of Alfred. If you're curious, I still think Sean Pertwee's iteration of Alfred on Gotham is the best iteration of Alfred to date. The core reason why I loved Alfred in The Batman is that he pushes Bruce's buttons. He isn't willing to take Bruce's shit in the small glimpses that we get to see Alfred. He's there to make Bruce the things that he might not want to do, even if it's a simple thing like wearing the Wayne family cufflinks or caring about his actual appearance for the sake of his family name. Typically, Alfred just kind of takes Bruce's shit, says, "Yes, Master Wayne," to whatever request he has, and then he'll let out a smart comment here or there that actually turns out to be pretty damn funny. In this case, Alfred is like, "No, I'm not willing to roll over on my back just because you want to be hard-headed. You're going to do X, you should be doing Y, and you need to do Z because for whatever reason." This pushback from Alfred actually adds a bit of a strain to their relationship because Bruce has little to no interest in caring about the public eye or the typical Bruce Wayne responsibilities we've seen in other movies. So why would I want more screen time for this somewhat strained relationship? It's because the pivotal hospital scene with Alfred and Bruce, which allowed them to not only mend their strained relationship, but also allowed Bruce to realize just how corrupt Gotham is, could have been so much stronger. It's not that I didn't buy that Bruce cares about Alfred or didn't buy Bruce's reaction to Alfred possibly dying, nor did I believe it. It's the first movie of a brand new universe. They weren't about to kill off Alfred, let's be real. I just wish there was more depth to it. If we were given more moments that allowed us to really care about Alfred and Bruce's relationship, or more glimpses that added to a longer amount of time that we got to spend seeing Alfred and Bruce's relationship grow as Bruce grows throughout the movie, that would have hit so much harder. The moment we found out that blowing up Wayne Manor was a part of Riddler's plans and we get to see Alfred open up Riddler's card, our hearts would have sunk even further than they did had we gotten more time with Alfred on the screen. The reaction that Bruce has, which is him panicking to call Alfred and driving recklessly to try and save Alfred's life, would have made us even more antsy. That heart-to-heart conversation they have, which leads to Alfred confessing that he simply did what he could to be a father to Bruce because that's what Bruce needed most, that would have been even more heartwarming. Again, all of this lands perfectly in the context of the movie and in the context of the story, but if the relationship was given more depth and time, all of this would have been even better than it was. The second thing I would have loved to see more of is the build up towards the Riddler's army or fan base. I don't know what it is, but what's done in the movie is good enough and makes logical sense in the context of the movie's story, but at the same time, I kind of wish they did more with this idea. Like, don't get me wrong, they dropped 3 hints regarding his following. The first one is the thousands of viewers that pop up on the screen when he live streams during the church scene. The second one is a GCPD cop mentioning that he has like 500 followers. And the third one is Bruce hitting play on Riddler's final hint, which visually shows his follower count. Plus, it has messages on the screen as well, but I digress. The point is that while this is enough to sell us on the fact that Riddler has a fairly strong following, I just feel like there could have been a scene or two that added extra depth for this revelation. For reference, it's not that I don't believe that Riddler had a core following or followers in general. I just wish that it was set up better. I would have loved to see better hints that are a little more detailed, or maybe have Riddler's followers play a bit of a bigger role in this movie, whether it's sending fake to the Batman letters that mimic Riddler's MO, or Bruce doing research on a computer and him finding posts of people supporting Riddler. Somehow it could have boosted this idea. Like, Like, I was on board with Riddler having these followers when it's revealed in the final video, but to see them fully dressed up as Riddler and willing to fight Batman, I was like, what is this, an Arkham game? I found it more so funny than I did seriously, but I will say it was genius to have the one follower of the Riddler that Bruce unmasked say, "I'm vengeance." Bruce's reaction almost made it seem like he was not only embarrassed by hearing that, but also never ever wants to hear it again. I just wish that there was more to it, because had there been a much better setup towards this plot twist where it's Batman versus every Riddler follower, it would have created even more tension. Imagine knowing that Bruce is in for one hell of a final fight because we, as viewers, know that there's some sort of team that Riddler's putting together to ensure his gigantic plan to essentially put Gotham underwater happens. It would have kept us on the edge of our seats more than it already does, because we're still watching an inexperienced Batman at the end of this movie. Again, I want to reiterate that the lack of these two things doesn't make The Batman any worse of a movie. In fact, I still love The Batman for what it is. It's just that I personally would have loved to see these things. I don't know, I just feel like this would have enhanced what I feel is an outstanding movie and the best DC movie to date. If you can't tell by now, I love this movie a lot. There are so many things to love about The Batman, but the primary thing for me is that it felt refreshing. The Batman is a beautifully crafted comic book masterpiece. From the shots of Batman looking over Gotham to the stellar soundtrack that made so many of us keep Something in the Way on repeat to the insanely designed Batmobile, The Batman is a fantastic comic book movie. As I said earlier in this video, it leaves a lot to be desired positively. After rewatching The Batman, you can tell just how much love and care was put into this movie. Everything feels so amazingly put together and crafted in a way that essentially ties the bow at the end of the movie. Even with that, it leaves you on the exciting note of wanting you to anticipate what's next. I can't wait to see where Penguin's story goes in his HBO Max series and see what repercussions his story will leave on Gotham as a whole, which in turn will affect Batman's story. I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves chooses to do with Selina Kyle as well, considering her route can go anywhere now. Most importantly, I can't wait to see who is the next big bad in the Batman sequel. There's just so much to not only appreciate, but to be excited about as well. It's an exciting time to be a Batman fan, and just like I did before The Batman, I can't wait to read whatever comics Matt Reeves or DC suggest to us so we can be prepared for the next The Batman related project. I have to say it, The Batman might just be my favorite Batman movie to date, and I sincerely mean that, because truthfully, something isn't in the way of me loving this movie.